Hey everyone, this is PokeZack 494 here, and I am a guest coming on to Cheezy VGC's channel to commentate his Week 4 match in the UGA Draft League. And yeah, I'm sure you'll want to subscribe to their channel to see all of their regular content, and you can find my channel under PokeZack 494. But with all that out of the way, I think we should just get right into the match. So first up here on Team Preview, we have both of the competitors' teams, and let's just take a look at what they have. So for Cheezy VGC, we see that they've brought Cinderace, Rabombi, Jellicent, Vikavolt, Conkeldurr, and FLETCHLING, which, seeing that, is definitely an interesting choice, but I imagine, and I'm no expert on competitive FLETCHLING sets, but I imagine this also has Gale Wings, kind of like what its more commonly used final form Talonflame has, which allows it to make any of its flying type attacks a priority move as long as its HP is full. And usually going to use that to set up Tailwind and get your Pokemon moving faster, which is interesting to see here because if you take a look at VGC's team as a whole, or Cheezy VGC's team as a whole, they have 3 fast-looking Pokemon, and that's that being Cinderace, Rabombi, and FLETCHLING, and then 3 pretty slow Pokemon in Vikavolt, Conkeldurr, and Jellicent. And I think that will allow Cheezy VGC to kind of play a very flexible game style because they have a fast mode with Tailwind provided by the FLETCHLING and a slow mode with Trick Room provided by the Jellicent. And I think if you can get the right position, judge the opponent's lead, and then decide whether to go for Trick Room or Tailwind, or just even from the team preview, deciding which one you think might be best, and utilizing it to the fullest and getting your Tailwind or Trick Room sweepers in the right spot, Cheezy VGC can take this game with relative ease if he's able to get into the right position. I think they have good coverage as well in both Vikavolt and Conkeldurr for Trick Room. Their types don't overlap at all, and they can definitely be a threat under Trick Room, and Cinderace is just a really good Pokemon in general. I'm assuming that is their Gigantamax Pokemon on this team, and that would just be even better. So overall, a solid bring from Cheezy VGC. Now his opponent Fen has brought double Alcremie, Dragalge, Lycanroc, Grimmsnarl, and Dottler on their side of the field. And on this team, it's interesting for sure. I think good leads could be something like Alcremie and something like Alcremie and Grimmsnarl to set up Light Screen and maybe Gigantamax their Light Screen or Reflect depending on the situation, and maybe Gigantamax their Alcremie if that's what their Gigantamax is, or maybe the other way around, their Gigantamax Pokemon is Grimmsnarl and they Gigantamax that and then support with moves like Decorate on their Alcremie. That could be one strategy they have. I see Double basically acting as a wall for the opponent's physical attackers. The only problem with that is they do seem to be pretty half and half on their physical and special attackers. So outside of walling the physical Pokemon, I don't think Double is going to have much of a helpful or important role on the team as some of the others. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm looking at his team. And we noticed Dragalge too, which also has a low speed stat, which means it can thrive under Trick Room as well. So Dottler is the Trick Room Pokemon that he has on his team. I believe Alcremie can learn Trick Room too. I'm not 100% positive on that, but I believe what it looks like from this team preview that Fen wants to go for Eviolite Dottler to set up Trick Room, but he may not even need to do that. If he plays into the right spot, he can get Dragalge in Trick Room by having his opponent set it without even having to set it up themselves. And that could be one strategy that they could think of. And As for Lycanroc, it's probably just there for general rock type damage, and it's good it's always good to have priority moves, and so Accelerock will be a nice asset for his team. And I do see it coming out as a lead Pokemon as well, but we'll just find out during the match, and I think we're going to get right into it now. Alright, we are here now with game 1. Let's see what they have for the leads. So on Fenn's side of the field, as I expected, they have Lycanroc out as a lead with Grimmsnarl. So it appears that they're going to want to set up those screens. And as I was also saying about Cheezy VGC's side, we have Cinderace and Fletchling out at once. So yes, we have Tailwind and Will-O-Wisp for support moves, and then Protect to stall out turns. So it looks like they're actually going to opt for a Protect instead of going for a turn 1 Tailwind. And that is because, wisely, Grimmsnarl was going to attempt to fake out the... Oh, wow. Fake out the Fletchling, but Accelerock does so much damage there. Man, they didn't Dynamax... Oh, and wow. Cinderace takes the KO on Lycanroc. So that was an action-packed turn. Cinderace didn't Dynamax, so it took a ton of damage from that Accelerock, which it was able to get off before Cinderace could attack it due to its priority. But Fletchling protected, so it can still go for a priority Tailwind, but I don't think you're going to get much value out of Dynamaxing Cinderace now, considering the amount of damage it just took. But overall, as you can see, the Lycanroc is off the field turn 1, so I have to say this is a net positive for Cheezy VGC's side of the field. But now here's an interesting interaction. We have Dottler out on the field, and that usually, as I was saying earlier, wants to go for Trick Room. So it looks like Cheezy is going for Tailwind right now, which is a bit of a risky play because of the fact that if they get up Trick Room, if the opponent gets up Trick Room, then you're going to be moving way slower because of the Tailwind. And I have to assume this is going to be Eviolite Dottler, but if it's Focus Sash, it's Eviolite. So with the Reflect and Eviolite, it actually lives the Cinderace's attack, but it doesn't go for Trick Room. It actually goes for Scale Swap. And now Dottler has Libero, and Cinderace cannot change its types anymore, so it's stuck in the Fire type now, which is a pretty interesting play on Fenn's side. We'll have to see how that helps him out through the rest of the game. Although Cinderace is already almost fainted, so I don't see a ton of value coming out of that. Plus, Cheezy got up Tailwind for no cost, and yeah, this dual Wing Beat. Oh, wow. Okay, I was going to say it was not going to be able to do enough to take it out, but they actually got a critical hit on the second time that move hit. So, yeah, Fenn's side is already down to just the last 2 Pokemon. Oh, but Grimmsnarl avoids the Power Ball. That's actually a pretty big miss. That would have done a sizable amount of damage even through the Reflect. Okay, Alcremie is the last Pokemon on the field. So now I have to assume it could be either Grimmsnarl or Alcremie that Dynamaxes, but I'm going to assume that it's going to be Alcremie, because if Fenn is aware, he may not be, but yeah, so there's Cheezy is clearly thinking about whether to go for Will-O-Wisp or not, but Grimmsnarl is usually a physical attacker. And yeah, so there's the Dynamax on Fenn's side. But if he Dynamaxes Grimmsnarl, okay, it's Alcremie. So Grimmsnarl can get burned, which would half its attack. So it's probably in Fenn's best interest to Gigantamax in this case, Alcremie, which is what he did. So let's see how this turn goes. So yeah, Cheezy goes for a Protect on Fletchling, just keeping it around even longer. Cinderace goes for Iron Head, actually, due to the Reflect, not doing very much damage. And something to note is that the Cinderace is not, it does not have Life Orb. which most Cinderace usually do run in a regular format. So it's not doing as much damage as most would expect it to. And because of that G-Max Volcalith, sorry, that's Colossal's move. Because of that G-Max, it looks like it has leftovers too. G-Max Finale, plus leftovers, it healed almost all the damage that Ironhead did. The only thing is, Conkeldurr is weak to both of the opposing Pokemon, and it looks, I would send in Jellicent here to try to get in up Trick Room before, so that you can have Conkeldurr in a better spot. But they set up Tailwind, so yeah, that's a problem for them if they're trying to go for Trick Room, is that they would have both Trick Room and Tailwind up at the same time, and that probably wouldn't. Okay, so they just checked. There's actually only one turn left of Tailwind. So if they get Trick Room up now, that would be really good. But if they double into Jellicent, which Grimmsnarl is actually super effective against, but the Will-O-Wisp, like I mentioned earlier, is going to have the Grimmsnarl's damage output. So Max Flick. That is not the play I would have expected to see. I would have expected Fen to try to try to stop Trick Room going up at all costs, because if Jellicent is here, you're going to pretty much just expect to see Conkeldurr in the back. But wow, it looks like Cheezy gets up Trick Room for no cost at all, not any damage on to Jellicent, and getting having Fletchling get knocked out there is actually positive for Cheezy, because now he doesn't have to waste a turn having the Fletchling faint at a later turn or switch into Conkeldurr. Now he just gets a free switch into Conkeldurr at the very start of Trick Room, and it can make the most of all those turns that it gets to be the most destructive to Fen's team. The only problem is Alcremie is super effective against Alcremie, and Grimmsnarl are super effective against Conkeldurr, but I didn't make a note of the item the Conkeldurr was. If it is if it is Assault Vest, then I'll be taking less damage here, but wisely Cheezy goes for the Max Guard, because now it can stall out the last turn of Gigantamax Alcremie's Gigantamax, and it will be taking less damage than it needs to because of that. So interesting that the Jellicent decides to burn the Alcremie as well, because Alcremie uses its special attack, so the burn's not going to have any damage or anything, but it does cancel out Alcremie's leftovers item, so that is something of note. Taking burn damage on... Whoa, yep. Flame Orb is the item, so it's actually going to be taking more damage, but outputting more damage itself. So yeah, now 3 Pokemon on the field are actually burned, which is interesting. And I guess the one other benefit, and probably the main reason Cheezy decided to burn the Alcremie, is because his Jellicent is running Hex. So that does double the damage to Pokemon that have status conditions on them. So wow, that's a bulky Alcremie though. That did barely anything. So Max Rockfall is interesting. Well, yeah, that's enough to take out the Alcremie. Plus the critical hit. Yeah, I just remember now that they Fen had both Light Screen and Reflect, which is why I didn't do that much damage. But I don't think that would have KO'd if not for the critical hit. So that was pretty lucky on Cheezy's part. But as you can see, Fen really was not outputting very much damage at all at this point, thanks to the burn and Alcremie's Gigantamax ending. So I don't think the crit was a game ender, but it definitely did help speed things up, and really is leaving no options for Fen to take this game back. What with Conkeldurr having still 2 turns left of... No, 1 turn left of Dynamax, and Jellicent being at full health. So yeah, this isn't looking too great for Fen. So it looks like it's going to be Max Knuckle coming out now. Okay, Jellicent Hex, so it's resisted, not going to do too much, but it does help for a little more chip to get it into max knuckle range, which may not KO thanks to Reflect. Man, that's unfortunate though for Fen though, because Sandstorm and Burn damage, either one of the two, but both are in play here, would take the remaining HP left from Grimmsnarl. And yep, the Sandstorm moves first, and Grimmsnarl is out. So Fen loses game 1, and Cheezy takes game 1. So we're moving on to game 2. We'll see how this one goes, and if there will be a game 3 or not. That was a pretty well-played game by Cheezy, I think. Just the fact that they wisely used Protects and Max Guards and like made sure they knew how long the turns of Tailwind and Trick Room interacted with each other. He got Trick Room set up at just the right spot, and I think maybe because the Tailwind is up, it threw Fen for it kind of caught him off guard, and maybe he wasn't expecting Trick Room to go up because Cheezy still had Tailwind in effect, only for that turn, but they did have Tailwind in effect, and even I was wary about Cheezy setting up Trick Room, but he knew exactly when the right time was, and I think that was the play that, along with protecting and max guarding at the right turns, those were the things that pushed Cheezy to the win over Fen. But I'm interested to see how Fen will adjust, and knowing that Cheezy is not afraid to use both Trick Room and Tailwind in the same game, what they might do to try to counter that, and with that knowledge, can they stop Tailwind or Trick Room from going up and letting Cheezy just run away with the game? So it looks like already Cheezy knows exactly what they're doing, and it seems like they're actually going to switch things up. And they're not going to be bringing Trick Room at all. So what I expect is Ribombee is going to be speed swapping to one of the two slower Pokemon in the back to make them faster. The only problem with that is there's no, you can only use speed swap once for one Pokemon. So one Pokemon is still going to be really slow and taking a lot of damage before it gets to an attack off. So interesting to see this kind of play. But if Cheezy is able to get one of the two Pokemon in a good position where it's super effective against the opposing Pokemon, and they can Dynamax it, and with Ribombee's inherited speed stat, it might just be able to just take the game from there and not even have to worry about what's left in the back. Alright, but it looks like it is going to be the same lead from Fen's side, and the interesting thing about that to me is Ribombee's actually weak. It's Fairy. Wait, Ribombee. Yeah, not flying. It's Fairy and Bug. So it's actually also weak to what am I saying? Rock type moves, which Accelerock again is a priority move. Oh, I expected the ally switch would be a problem for. Wow, that is a really good first turn for Fen. I expected the ally switch would throw Fen for a loop, but it did not. They actually covered the option of ally switch and went for Rock Slide instead. It missed the Vikavolt, but that's not the one they were trying to hit the most, I think, even though it would have been super effective and good to hit both of them with Rock Slide. I think Ribombee was the bigger threat because now it can't speed swap, or I didn't see if it had speed swap on it, but I have to assume that's what it was running. But now it can't speed swap, and as you can see on Cheezy's side of the field, he's left with two relatively slow Pokemon, and that's going to give the advantage to Fen at the early point in this game. We'll have to see if Cheezy intends on Dynamaxing one of his Pokemon right now, and if so, which one. Okay, looks like no Dynamax right now, which is interesting because if Vikavolt takes a Rock-type move to the face, I'm not confident that it'll survive it. However, it seems that Lycanroc opts for a close combat onto the Conkeldurr, which I have to say don't necessarily agree with that play, because now, as you can see, Conkeldurr just took it out, what with its defenses being dropped, and maybe it would have survived because of the reflect, but after the close combat, it definitely isn't. And now the Flash Cannon can just go safely into the Grimmsnarl, which is not protected by a light screen. So I think going for Rock Slide or even a Cell Rock there would have been a safer play. But it seems like Fen just really wanted damage off on the Conkeldurr, which is fair because it was a threat in the last game. But we'll see if he can adequately recover from that turn, because that didn't go too well for Fen. Okay, so looks like he's toiling with the Dynamax on Vikavolt, and yeah, that makes sense because with the threat of Lycanroc gone, it seems like Vikavolt can just safely Dynamax, and the only thing it has to worry about is not having speed control. But if you noticed, it looks like Cheezy is actually going for Max Airstream, which will give him that crucial speed control that he is lacking right now. And I think that's a pretty solid way to get an upper hand. I should say even make his what's the term? Make his hand higher. Just put himself in a better position than he already is. But so we're seeing a Dynamax on Fen's side. I do not expect Dottler, but it could be. Okay, so we're seeing a Dynamax Dottler. That I'll have to say, I was not expecting to see that come out. I was expecting that to just use Trick Room, be bulky with Eviolite, and so it could set it up. But okay, Grimmsnarl, even through Reflect, goes down to that Mach Punch. So it looks like Fen here is got his back against the wall, especially taking that Max Airstream to the face. It doesn't do that much damage, all things considered, but I mean, Dottler is probably more known for its defense than offenses, so yeah, the Max Mindstorm doesn't even pick up a KO on the Conkeldurr, and and that was a critical hit. Yeah, its damage output is not great. And even with the burn, I don't think... Oh, it does. Okay, so I didn't think the burn would be enough to take it out, but that is actually a good stroke of luck for Fen's side, because the Conkeldurr would not have fainted if not for that. But with Cinderace in the back, that presents a real problem for Fen once again, because now Cheezy has two Pokemon on the field, one Dynamax, that both threaten the Dynamax Dottler with super effective attacks. But both players are on their last Pokemon, and Fen still has Reflect set up. So Cinderace isn't doing as much damage as it normally would. So this could be... those two factors could be enough for Fen to, if he plays smart, to take the upper hand again and maybe take this game. But if Cheezy... Okay, so I was expecting a max guard there, so that Alcremie can get a little bit more damage out, and especially if Cheezy decides to double into the Dottler. But it looks like he doesn't take the bait, and even through Reflect, that Iron Head is doing a lot of damage, and Alcremie flinches, which that basically just seals the game for Cheezy. If Alcremie could have gotten an attack off there, I don't know if it would have anything to one-shot the Cinderace. It could have at least Mystical Fired and been super effective damage because Cinderace changed to a Steel type. But being flinched on that turn while Dottler was max guarding really does not do Fen any favors. And Alcremie is out, and it looks like another Max Airstream is going to be... Max Flutterby instead, which is actually not resisted because Dottler is part Psychic, and Dottler faints, giving the victory to Cheezy VGC. Wow. So, yeah, that was a pretty decisive victory for Cheezy, winning 2 on that one. But I think both players played well, and Cheezy especially, which I think is what allowed them to win both of these games. But I liked how both players adapted to the game, even though Fen brought the same Pokemon as he did in the first game to the second game. It seemed like they had a better, more fleshed out game plan for the second one and brought it to a closer end game. But it seemed like throughout the match, Cheezy was just one step ahead on the playing field, and ultimately that's what allowed them to take the entire game, the entire match. So yeah, a good show from both sides, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to Cheezy's channel if you want to see more amazing gameplay such as this, and maybe I'll be asked to come on to the channel again sometime. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. See ya.